Tonight, fears the local farming industry will be crippled if a live export ban goes ahead. And a local company returns to Whyalla, bringing with it dozens of jobs.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. The threat of a live export ban across the nation is playing on the minds of local farmers. They say if the ban was to go ahead, the local agriculture industry and economy would be left devastated.
Animal activists are calling for the federal government to ban livestock exports. It follows revelations nearly 2,500 sheep died aboard a ship used in Western Australia last year. Local farmer Philip Johns says a blanket ban will only be detrimental to the Mid-North farming community.
The primary producer does nothing wrong because we actually supply sheep that are in perfect condition to go on a boat.
Federal member for Grey, Rowan Ramsey, also voicing his support to farmers in his electorate who rely on the trade.
They're the innocent victims. They've raised these livestock, they look after them, they delivered them in peak condition.
There are fears if the ban put into action would potentially send some farmers broke.
The boat trade wasn't in existence. I would think that the difference in price between sale yard and boat would be something like $20 a head less.
The market is destroyed by other operators in the system, then they will be the one that will wear the financial cost.
Some sheep have already been earmarked to be sent away. Farmers say they'll be left with a surplus supply of livestock. And with sheep all ready to be sent away, Philip is unsure what he'll do if the ban does come into effect.
So we've got to find somewhere for those sheep to go. If we can't put them on the boat, we have to sell them somewhere else.
Local farmers are calling for the government to clamp down on rogue operators and complete a supply chain review instead of punishing those who are doing the right thing.
We don't need a knee-jerk reaction banning the trade, because the only people that really hurts is the primary producer.
People are doing the right thing, should get a pat on the back. So that's why we don't want a broad sort of mad response at the moment.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Up to 80 jobs are set to be created after Clean Seas announced it'll set up a $6 million Kingfish hatchery near Whyalla. The CEO says it's a welcome return to the area as it looks to boost its production and the region's reputation.
Handshakes all round as Whyalla reels in another new industry. Clean Seas is returning to Fitzgerald Bay in August as it looks to boost its kingfish production to cater for growing demand.
Whyalla will play a critical part in providing this incredible fish for our expansion around the world in the next couple of years.
The new farm will be the company's third in the Spencer Gulf, along with Arno Bay and Port Lincoln. Up to 80 jobs will be created. It's back to the future for Clean Seas after it shut up shop a decade ago due to a high mortality rate which has now been addressed.
That was resolved about 2 or 3 years ago, and hence the company's back on a recovery trail, and now we're very excited about establishing the farm.
The project will receive $2.5 million in support from the federal government. Local MP Rowan Ramsey and the Regional Development Minister says it's reward for the hard work undertaken to rebuild the business.
Been around a while now, we know they're here for the long term. They're recommitting to ramping the industry up, and I'm really looking forward to it.
In the Upper Spencer Gulf, of course here in Whyalla, it's about getting behind strengths that already exist in the community.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill's Police Citizens Youth Club has been left to pick up the pieces following a brazen break-in. Management says it's a giant step backwards for the community-focused club and its future endeavours.
A bitter feeling to start the day for a key community group in Broken Hill.
This is a little bit of a kick in the guts.
Management raised the alarm yesterday morning when they realised someone had broken into the community club overnight. Thieves gaining access by smashing through a classroom window before making off with a number of items.
Unfortunately, they gained access to our safe, so they did get away with a small amount of cash. They also stole one of our computers and a couple of mobile phones, which is really, really frustrating because it was all of our kids' care contacts.
The thieves also stole a number of keys, including the one for the club's car. Luckily, they couldn't get it out of the garage. Heather says it's a blow for the non-profit club that provides plenty of programs and classes for the community.
Well, we are now actually trying to start a couple of programs for disengaged youth and youth that have left school early, get them back involved in life and get them education and everything else.
With the added costs of repairing the window and changing the club's locks, it's exactly what the small group doesn't need.
We're trying to put a lot of money back into the club with new equipment and everything else, and this has just made us, we take small steps forward. This has been a giant leap back, unfortunately.
Police are continuing with their investigation and calling for anyone with information to come forward. Patrick Roinke, Southern Cross News.
Local MP Eddie Hughes says he faces a steep learning curve following his appointment to Labor's shadow cabinet. Taking on a regional portfolio, the member says at the top of his list will be pushing for an assistance package for the Whyalla Steelworks.
An unfamiliar sight for Labor this morning in Adelaide, as the party met as a shadow cabinet for the first time in 16 years. Among the faces was Eddie Hughes, who's part of the sweeping change to Labor's front bench.
You've got to live up to the expectations, and that is about delivering. And delivering in opposition is different from delivering in government.
The Giles MP has taken on the country-focused portfolio of regional development and primary industries. He'll be tasked with developing Labor's policies in agriculture and fisheries, taking over from Leon Bignell. A novice to the industry, he says his focus will be on meeting those in the know.
I will be getting around the state, meeting with peak bodies and individuals and groups.
In regional development, the focus will be on ensuring an assistance package for the Whyalla Steelworks is finalised.
And it should be treated above, if you like, above politics, because the futures of a lot of people are at stake.
It'll be a challenging role for Mr Hughes, as his portfolio will focus on convincing traditionally Liberal voters to put Labor into power. But he's confident it can be done, saying Labor has a good track record.
Getting out and about and listening to people and really strengthening, bolstering our approach.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
After the break, a unique exhibition aimed at raising more awareness about World War I makes its way to Port Pirie. That's next. The Special Olympics Flame of Hope torch run continued through our region today. Athletes with a disability carried the torch through Port Pirie's city centre this morning before lighting the cauldron in Memorial Park.
I had a torch run and I loved it.
The relay passed through Clare this afternoon ahead of the 11th National Australian Special Olympics in Adelaide. The Far West Health District is looking for volunteers to join its community palliative care service. It's looking for people who can provide companionship and support to patients and carers. Volunteers need to be available for 2 to 4 hours a week. Port Pirie Regional Council is proud to bring a unique exhibition to the town from the other side of the world. The travelling display retraces the history of World War I in a bid to create greater awareness about the battle.
A photographic exhibition remembering the Anzacs who put their lives on the forefront fighting for our nation. The Great War in broad outlines details the traumatic events of the First World War. It's now calling Port Pirie home thanks to the help of Member for Grey, Rowan Ramsey, and his counterparts in Belgium.
We would like to thank the Belgium ambassador for recognising the common history we share, even though that was through adversity.
Is it coming to Grey? And he said, oh no, I don't think so. And I said, can it? And then he said, well, I can't see why not. We'll just find some appropriate dates. Where shall we go? And I said, well, we've got a terrific art gallery in Port Pirie.
The exhibition recognises the legacy of the battle as well as commemorating its 100th anniversary.
This exhibition provides us with 30 banners that cover the history of the First World War, and we've also been fortunate in having a mannequin provided by the Port Pirie RSL.
It's also about increasing awareness and educating people about our past.
Opportunity to look at some of the images and get a deeper understanding of the First World War.
Education about our past, in particular the conflicts of our past, are really important.
Port Pirie is the only regional town in South Australia to play host to the travelling exhibition.
Came to us from Western Australia. We'll travel to Queensland and then back to Belgium.
It'll be in town until the end of the month. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, if you have an interest or maybe just a fascination with bees, then Port Augusta might have something just for you. This Sunday, the Arid Lands Botanical Gardens is hosting a native bee day to discuss all things bee-related. The event will feature workshops and talks, as well as a guided walk to observe bees throughout the gardens. There is even a chance to learn how to build your own bee hotel. Organisers are hoping for a big turnout and are telling people to book ahead. After the break, set to do his hometown proud, a local 14-year-old basketballer selected in a state team. The details next. A local art prize competition in Broken Hill has received a record number of entries. Curators at the local gallery are thrilled at the interest, given the uniqueness of each piece.
It's a prestigious competition and it's garnering plenty of interest.
We've had 80 entries, which has been fantastic, and about half of them were actually the under 18 category, so we've got a lot of kids entering.
These are just some of the pieces of art entered into this year's Far West Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Prize. Along with the under 18 category, works in the 2D and 3D competitions are also catching the eyes.
There's also been some really fantastic contemporary entries this year, really pushing the boundaries. We've got photography in the mix there as well.
In addition to $5,000 in prize money, one lucky artist will have their art chosen to adorn Broken Hill City Council's 2018 NAIDOC Week banner.
The entries are from the Far West region, so it's not just Broken Hill, it's the whole of the Far West, so we'd love everyone to come and see their work.
The entries will be judged on Friday night.
So we've got Wesley Shaw, who's an Indigenous educator from the Art Gallery of New South Wales. He's coming out to visit us in Broken Hill, which is very exciting. He's from the Yuan language group.
After the winners are announced on the night, the art prize works will be on display until early June. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Whyalla Stewart Primary School has unveiled its new community mural at a ceremony this morning. It was developed to depict what was important to the school based on suggestions from staff and students. Various students from all grades modelled for the final design. Local artist Di Turner helped students with the design before they were painted over the past 3 weeks. A Port Augusta teenager is rising through the basketball ranks after being selected in the state under-16 side. The 14-year-old selection means he'll travel to the Sunshine Coast for the National Championships in July.
Dribbling the ball at the local basketball court. Mitchell Searle now has a chance to show these skills on the national stage after being selected in the South Australian Country under-16s. After impressing at the Southern Cross Development Competition, Mitchell was asked to trial for the state team.
It was pretty tough. Obviously being a bottom major, didn't really know if we were going to make it.
At just 14 years of age, competing at an under-16 level, he said the odds were against him. Though he believes the selectors must have seen him as a rich investment for the future.
I guess they see me as a big part of the team next year.
He's not out of his depth competing against some older guys, so yeah, certainly it's an investment over the next couple of years, hopefully.
Mitchell's coach says his aggressiveness around the basket adds value to the dynamic of the team.
He brings a lot of offence to our squad, and he's able to get the ball on the rim with good speed and agility.
I like attacking the basket, finding open teammates and just getting around everyone and getting everyone in the game.
With many weekends now taken up by games or training, Mitchell credits much of his success to his parents, who on numerous occasions have braved early mornings or late nights on return trips from Adelaide.
Yeah, that's so good, Mum and Dad driving me everywhere. Like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am.
Garth Burley, Southern Cross News.
We wish him all the best. Here's Patrick with this week's Fuel Watch.
It's been a terrible week at the Bowser for motorists across the entire Spencer Gulf and here in Broken Hill. Prices are up substantially and it couldn't come at a worse time, with school holidays kicking off next week. Unleaded first, and it's not pretty. Port Lincoln is averaging a hefty $1.40, the most expensive in the Gulf. Whyalla is up by a cent and sits on $1.38, with Port Pirie and Kadina both jumping 3 cents to be on the same price. Port Augusta is very close to paying $1.40 after a price hike of about 2 cents. Here in the Silver City, drivers are paying $1.42, but there are some servos still in the 130s. Adelaide is the only one to see any green. The Big Smoke is averaging just $1.31. To diesel now, and Port Augusta is the standout, with a slight drop to $1.39, the same as Port Pirie and Port Lincoln after both towns saw 2 cent spikes. Whyalla has had a bad week with a jump of about 4 cents, and it's the same story in Kadina. Broken Hill joins Whyalla paying around $1.43, and even Adelaide could couldn't avoid red, the price now up to $137. Now remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. Be safe on the roads if you are travelling for the school holidays, and if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded or diesel for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Stay with us after the break. Amy will be with us with all the weather details. And Amy, will autumn finally return to the Spencer Gulf after a hot start to the week?
There certainly has been no relief from those warmer temperatures just yet, Fraser. However, a change is on the way as we round out the week, and I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Another day of hot temperatures around all centres today. Port Augusta saw a maximum of 38. The winds picked up in Whyalla, Port Perry and Adelaide with temperatures in the high 30s. Taking a look at the satellite now, and the cloud over the southern parts of the state is staying dry. Clear and sunny skies elsewhere, which is keeping that heat lingering around South Australia. If you're spending another day on the waters cooling off, expect southwesterly winds up to 10 knots. Seas will reach 1.5 metres, while the sun will pop up at 6:38. The cool change will finally hit the region tomorrow, with temperatures dropping significantly. Port Augusta will see a top of 29, Whyalla will reach 26, while Coffin Bay will remain a few degrees cooler with 21. However, Broken Hill is going to be warmer with a top of 34. Meanwhile, temperatures will sit in the mid to high 20s elsewhere. The change in the weather will bring showers early on the weekend in Port Lincoln with a top of 23 on Sunday. Similar days forecasted in Cleve with showers and 20 on Saturday before a cloudy 22 on Sunday. Temperatures in Woodna will sit in the mid-20s before dropping with expected weekend rain and cloudy skies. Temperatures will drop to 21 in Whyalla on Saturday with cloudy skies and 23 on Sunday. Similar weekend expected in Port Augusta with temperatures staying in the low to mid-20s. Meanwhile, Kadina can also expect some possible showers and cooler temperatures. Port Perry will remain slightly warmer on Friday before the cool change comes through on Saturday. Clare is expected to experience tops of only 18 degrees over the weekend. And while Broken Hill has been experiencing a run of summer-like weather, a wet and windy Saturday is forecast with a top of 19 before a mostly sunny 22 on Sunday. So Fraser, after days of sweltering temperatures, the Spencer Gulf is in for a rainy and cooler change over the weekend.
Sounds like we'll be swapping our bathers for umbrellas. Thanks, Amy. And that's all from the newsroom for now. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.